Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we dive into the stories and mysteries behind everyday things. Today's question comes from one of our scholastic viewers, Lost in Thought 99. Thanks for the suggestion, Lost in Thought. You asked, why do people pace back and forth while thinking? It's something we've all seen or done ourselves. Someone gets lost in thought and suddenly they start moving like they're in an invisible hamster wheel. Are they solving world problems? Planning their grocery list? Or just reenacting a crime show detective's dramatic monologue? Well, there's actually a lot going on behind this strange habit. From how movement affects brain function to why some of history's greatest minds were chronic pacers. So if you've ever wondered why thinking turns us into human pendulums, stick around as we walk through the science, literally, right here on Explaining Everything. First things first, our brains are basically hyperactive toddlers. They don't like sitting still. When we move, we get better blood flow, more oxygen to the brain, and even a little dopamine boost. That's why a walk outside can make you feel refreshed and, if you're lucky, actually help you remember why you walked outside in the first place. Pacing, in particular, helps because it's just enough movement to engage the brain without being distracting. Running? Too much effort. Standing still? Boring. Pacing? Perfect. It's like a background process running in your brain while the main system focuses on solving a problem. Ever notice how you get some of your best ideas while walking, whether it's across the room, down the street, or just to the fridge? That's not a coincidence. Studies show that movement can actually improve cognitive function, helping us think more clearly and creatively. Now, let's go back in time, way back to when humans didn't have smartphones, coffee, or existential crises over email etiquette. Our ancestors spent a lot of time walking because, well, they had to. Back then, thinking was usually tied to solving survival problems. Where's the food? How do I avoid being eaten? Should I really poke that sleeping animal with a stick? And because our ancestors had to move while solving these problems, our brains evolved to associate movement with deep thought. Fast forward a few thousand years, and we're not exactly hunting mammoths anymore. But when we're faced with a difficult problem, like writing an email that doesn't sound passive-aggressive, our brains still want us to move. The survival instinct remains, even if the only thing we're hunting now is Wi-Fi. So, if movement helps us think, why don't we just take off sprinting whenever we need to make a decision? Well, for one, that would be exhausting. Imagine someone asking you a tough question, and instead of answering, you just start bolting in the other direction. Not exactly practical. Pacing is different. It's repetitive, easy, and doesn't require much effort. You don't have to navigate obstacles, worry about directions, or check if you locked the door before leaving, which, let's be honest, you definitely didn't. Instead, you can focus entirely on your thoughts while your body goes on autopilot. There's also a psychological aspect to it. Walking in circles looks weird. Standing still while thinking makes you look like you just forgot how to exist. But pacing? It's socially acceptable, deep thought behavior. It gives off the "I'm working on something important" vibe, even if you're just trying to remember your Netflix password. If you pace while thinking, congratulations, you're in good company. Some of history's greatest minds were serial pacers. Take Albert Einstein, for example. The guy spent a lot of time pacing while working on his theories. Same with Steve Jobs, who was famous for his walking meetings. Even Aristotle, yes, the ancient Greek philosopher, used to teach his students while walking. His whole school was called the Peripatetic School, which literally means the school of walking around. Clearly, there's something about movement that sparks genius-level thinking. So, the next time you find yourself pacing around your living room, just tell yourself, I'm basically Einstein right now. It's probably not true, but hey, it's a nice confidence boost. At this point, you might be wondering, okay, but does pacing actually make me smarter? Well, kind of. Research has shown that walking increases creativity. In a study conducted at Stanford, participants who walked came up with more creative ideas than those who just sat still. This explains why you get brilliant thoughts while pacing and then completely forget them the moment you sit down. Your brain loves movement, but apparently it's not great at saving progress. So, to sum it up, people pace while thinking because our brains evolved to associate movement with problem solving. Walking helps us focus, boosts creativity, and, if history tells us anything, might even make us smarter. So next time you catch yourself pacing back and forth like a character in a courtroom drama, don't fight it. Embrace it. You're not just aimlessly walking around. You're activating your inner genius. If you enjoyed this, don't just sit there. Pace over to that like button. And if you want to keep exploring the hidden science behind everyday habits, hit subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.